So before I start with this video, I want to preface it by saying I could 100% be wrong, and number two, this is pure speculation, and number three, I pray to God I'm wrong. Hello everybody, what is going on? Jimmy here, back with another video. I hope you guys are all doing well and everybody is okay. So today, my friends, we're going to be talking about the fact that the Nintendo Switch Pro is basically confirmed at this point. Basically, you know, there's no 100%, and we think that we're probably going to get it sometime in 2021. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a January Direct in like 2 days, and they'll talk about the Nintendo Switch Pro. I don't know. You don't know. Who knows? You never know what's going to go on with Nintendo. They are, out of all three of the major gaming companies, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, out of all three of them, I'd say Nintendo is the wild card of the bunch. You see PlayStation and you see Xbox pushing these high refresh rates, ray tracing, 4K, 120 frames, all this crazy stuff, HDMI 2.1, all this stuff that a lot of you Nintendo fans probably don't even know what that means if you're just a strictly Nintendo player, because Nintendo truly doesn't care about stuff like that. They focus on gameplay experiences, and there's nothing wrong with that. Out of the three, I'd say Nintendo is definitely my favorite, without a doubt in my head, even though there's gems for both of them. I do think that I do love them all, though. So I'm not trying to hate on either Xbox or PlayStation, because I love all three. But if I had to pick one to only stick with, I'm picking Nintendo. It's such a diverse platform, and honestly, the games are just quite addicting. Not to say the other ones aren't addicting from the other consoles, but I just love Nintendo and what it stands for. I love the characters. I love Super Smash Bros. I love Zelda. I love Mario. I grew up with Nintendo. I love Pokemon. Like, I grew up with this stuff, and for me, I think it's nostalgia that truly hits home. The DS was my original console, and because of that, you know, I feel like I just have a little bit of nostalgia for Nintendo versus the other platforms. Not trying to discredit them for whatever they've done, but like, nostalgia is a serious thing. And so because that, I love Nintendo more than them. I love what Nintendo stands for. But that's not what this is about. It's not an I love Nintendo video, because I could do that every day of the week. Like, I have been supplying you guys with a lot of Nintendo content lately. I know I usually always do Nintendo content, but this much, usually not. But basically, I wanted to say that the Switch Pro is not what you think it's going to be. And no, this is not hate. Like I just said, I absolutely love Nintendo, but the Switch Pro is definitely not going to be what you think it's going to be. So allow me to explain to you. The new Nintendo 3DS was an incremental mid-cycle refresh. The Switch, which followed a numerous amount of years later, I think 2 or 3 years after that, was a monumental upgrade. It went from, I think the original 3DS screen was lower than 480p all the way to HD. Like, that's a big difference. The colors got a lot more accurate. The pixelation on the screen is a lot lower. It's a lot less blurry, a lot less jagged edges. I mean, go back and look at Pokemon Sun and Moon versus Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you want a serious comparison, go look at those two games graphically compared to each other, and you're going to be blown away by how far they've came. And Game Freak was so lazy that they didn't even change the Pokemon model, so that's just strictly upscaling. That's just to show you what the Switch is doing. Game Freak really didn't put any effort into that. That's really what the Switch is doing. And as you can see, Nintendo really saves their great things, their momentum, for the next big bang. Nintendo is not going to do something like Xbox, like Sony, with the PlayStation 4 Pro or the Xbox Series, or the Xbox One X, sorry about that, not the Series X, the One X, those incremental upgrades that are actually pretty substantially more powerful than the originals. I truly think that, I've been thinking about this, and I truly think that the Switch Pro will be checkerboard 4K or close to it, will probably not have ray tracing, will probably barely squeeze out 60 frames a second on those titles, and honestly, the rumor about it being as powerful as a base PS4 definitely makes sense to me. I think a lot of people are expecting a PlayStation 5 or a Series X in your pocket, and think about how stupid that even is to think about. I mean, look how big the PS5 is. I'm staring at mine right now. It's bigger than like everything around me, and I'm looking at this thing thinking, people think they're going to be able to cram 4K visuals on here. We have to get one more thing out of the way too. The Switch Pro, if it is real and it's coming, is not going to have a 4K screen. It's 100% not. The technology is too new. Nintendo will not invest that much money into a 4K screen. I'm rolling that one out right now. If I'm wrong, I will genuinely be so excited, but I think with battery life, everything else, truly, it will never happen. And the colors and the speakers on the Switch are two things that I'd love to see fixed on the Switch Pro, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to tell you what I'd love to see on the Switch Pro, because the fact that I'm setting my standards at a level that I think can actually be reached. I'd rather see, you know, checkerboard 4K or even 1440p. You know, I don't really care exactly how high or low it goes, but definitely above 1080p, smoother frame rates, better color accuracy, better speakers, because God, the speakers are terrible. I mean, I use headphones or plug into my speakers with the 3.5mm all the time, just because the fact that I really kind of hate the speakers that come on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, you listen to something on my iPhone, I have an iPhone 11 Pro, okay, and I have a Nintendo Switch, right? And if you listen to the same song on both of them with the same YouTube video playing, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Go to your YouTube app, put on a song, listen to it on your phone, or it doesn't have to be an iPhone, just any Android phone, whatever it is. You will be blown away by how much more detail is in the cell phone versus the Nintendo Switch. And if Nintendo really wants to, you know, compete in this mobile market here, they have to be better. Apple's chips are as powerful as the base Xbox One, and they're putting them in iPads. You see what I'm saying? So Nintendo has to have that PS4 power. I feel like that's definitely something they need to do, and I'm looking forward to seeing that, but I think we need expectations in check here. We're not getting 4K 120. We're not getting ray tracing. We're probably going to get DLSS super scaling. We're probably not even going to hit 4K. There's no way natively we're hitting 4K if a PS4 Pro, the size of almost the entire PS5, can't hit it natively. You think that a little thing you can stick in your pocket a couple years later is going to be able to? That is definitely not going to happen. The last thing that needs definitely addressed, though, is Joy-Con drift. Joy-Con drift. Every single year I'm buying new Joy-Cons. Not because of Joy-Con drift. Actually, believe it or not, that's fine. Joy-Con drift doesn't bother me in particular. I've really never experienced it to a severe enough degree to actually have to buy a new controller. It's actually the buttons stop working, or they slide off the switch, they won't stay on, or all sorts of different things. I've went through a ton of sets of Joy-Cons, and I always try to get a new color, or get the gray ones, or just get whatever is the cheapest I can find, because, you know, I try to spend the least amount of money. I don't want to have to spend $80 every single time that my Joy-Cons break. And I know Sony's in hot water for the drift. Xbox One Elite controller in the Xbox Series X version. I don't exactly know which version of it is, but it's in hot water for drifting too. So this is an industry problem, but I think no one's as infamous about it as Nintendo is. So I just wanted to make this video kind of talking about things I'd like to see on the Switch Pro, things that I think are realistic, and things that I think could actually happen, because I feel like a lot of us need our expectations in line. I don't want to see all you guys sad when the Nintendo Switch Pro comes out and it is not a PS5 in your pocket. I hope that you know that it definitely will not be. But if your expectations were in check the whole time, then I guess this video really wasn't for you. It was more for the people who thought that we were just going to get some magnificent thing. Nintendo is going to save that for the Switch 2 or the successor to the Switch. They are not going to give you the most amazing thing that they can build in the entire world right now, because of the fact that they do not want to kill the Switch. Number one, the Switch's momentum. They still probably want to sell regular Switches. And number two, they definitely don't want to give you all their technology. They definitely want to save some for next gen. Like I said, look at the new 3DS XL, or whatever it was called, because the naming scheme's so weird, versus the Nintendo Switch. You see what I'm talking about? Look how big of a difference that is. But look at the 3DS versus the new 3DS. Not that big of a difference. I mean, there was a couple games exclusive to it, but at the end of the day, they didn't really add a lot. They really did not add a lot. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to drop me a like, comment, maybe even consider subscribing. I will be doing more Ghost of Tsushima later today on stream, so I hope you guys are excited for that. And as always, Jimmy out of here. Thank you all for your support.